All right, guys, going to be getting into the API, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Highlighting the top plays, giving you guys the top stat fits, best in recent form, course history, the core plays, and a first look build. Let's get into it. All right, everyone, welcome into the Arnold Palmer Invitational. This is going to be a fun tournament. It is an elevated field event, which just means that all the best players in the world are going to be here, and it's going to mean that it's going to be extremely easy to make a pretty good build. This field is pretty loaded. It's a straightforward week. We know which key stats to look at. We know which players to be on. Let's go ahead and get into it. So with this tournament, it is a tournament that typically does play as a harder scoring tournament, and that's a lot due to the weather, but also the setup. It's a longer track, and really that's the biggest difference. It feels like it's a easier to predict version of last week's tournament in terms of which key stats we're looking at, in terms of how the course is going to play, like hard scoring. You need to be avoiding bogeys. You need to be strong in total driving and whatnot. So the key stats that we're going to be looking at are going to be total driving, ball striking. You could look at total putting. We're going to be looking at par 5 scoring. As always, strokes gained total and effective scoring. We're going to be looking at bogey avoidance and greens gained. And so here the players are popping up key stat wise. The biggest interesting data point I think that we have here is simply the fact that we're going to see a lot of DP Tour players popping up there. Ryan Fox, Adrian Moronic. You got Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, he's okay. We're going to see DP Tour players actually tend to play pretty well here. So we'll go ahead and get into the course history here to kind of show you guys that. And so if we just take out these players with only one start, we can see Matt Fitzpatrick is kind of the course horse here with a 9th, 10th, 9th, and 2nd. He would pretty much just be a lock and load if we knew the status of his health. Obviously, he's been battling a little bit of the injury bug here, but he is someone that is very interesting in GPPs. If we get news that he is 100%, like probably just loading up on him. Now, I don't think we'll get that news. I think he's still going to be injured, but definitely worth monitoring there. Scotty Scheffler, we can see a 1st and 15th place finish. We can see Rory, 13th, 10th, 5th, 6th, really just been playing extremely well here at this tournament. Chris Kirk, last week's winner, 5th, 8th, and 15th. Sanjay AM, extremely good course history, 20th, 21st, 3rd. We go a little bit lower. Terrell Hatton, 2nd, 21st, 1st, 29th. He's at an extremely cheap price tag. Seabez, another DP Tour player popping up there, okay? We go lower. Max Homa, 17th, 10th, 24th. Extremely good starts there. Willie Z, 38th and a 10th. We'll take the top 10 finish. Keegan, 11th, 10th. 42nd, 46th. Keith Mitchell, 61st, 43rd, 5th, 6th. Hideki, Tommy Fleetwood, Hovland, Bo Hosler. Okay, he's going to be an interesting name, I think. Adam Shank, our boy Adam Shank from last week popping up there. Okay, so we got a lot of really strong kind of price point plays, a lot of good, really solid course history players to go in on. And so if we look at the players coming in with the best recent form, this really shouldn't shock you guys too much. We got Rahm and Rory. Mingwoo Lee actually popping up there as well. He's been someone that has been playing some really solid golf, so not too shocking. Then Homa, then Xander, then Scotty, then Seamus Power. That's a little bit shocking. We got Patrick Cantlay, Ryan Fox, DP Tour has been playing extremely well. He's popping up there. We got Tony, we got Hovland, Hatton, Salit Tagala. That's an interesting name. But we can see we have a lot of players just really playing some extremely good golf. If we just look at the average finish over the last 5 starts for these players, obviously Rahm just been a stud. Then we got Scotty. But we can see we have 10 players that are coming in with an average finish of 19th or better over their past 5 starts. And if we go further, we have 20, maybe even more than that have a better average finish of 30th. So a really stacked field that we got this week. And so one of the unique things about the 9 to 5 data is that we have all this unique data points that go into the 9 to 5 specialist. You'll see people referring to strokes gained putting on a tournament and whatnot. Sure, that stuff is good to look at, but I feel like people overemphasize that stuff a little bit too much. So we go ahead and we put that into a 9 to 5 specialist tab. And so really, I think that the key things that we want to be looking at, maybe this tournament, you could go course designer. That's fine. Okay. Location, maybe, players that play better in Florida, you could target, but let's go with length. Let's go with scoring. So I do think maybe potentially water hazards in play, but really I would say weather. The weather is going to be pretty bad on paper. And guys, this will change throughout the week. That actually changed how the tournament played projection wise last week. Okay. But looking at it, pulling in those data points, the top specialists, just those ones. And you can sort by this however you want, okay? You can put in whichever data you want, and it'll pull out which players would rank out the best. And so just looking at those, because I think these will be the most important data points for the specialist data, is going to be John Rahm, Rory, Max Homa, Scotty, Hovland, Fox, Lee, Hatton, Xander, Willie Z, Justin Thomas, Keith Mitchell, Sanjay M. Okay, so we are seeing some players with some pretty good price points popping up into there as well. So without further ado, let's get into the top plays in the high tier. All right, so getting into the high point price point tier, guys, this is absolutely loaded. Okay, and I would still argue that Jon Rahm is a little bit too cheap. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks now. It's like Jon Rahm should be at 12K. There's no reason he shouldn't be. It has basically been a free square. I mean, look at the last few starts: first, third, seventh, first, eighth, fourth. I mean, he is simply still too cheap. Now, I will say the 9-to-5 model this week has him as the second best player on the board. Why is that? It's a very tight spread between him and Rory. Okay, like very finite. Okay, so Rory is technically the number one. Very tight difference. But given the consistency from Rahm that we have seen, I could see just rolling with him instead of Rory. To me, that makes a ton of sense. I don't think you can go wrong with either. I would still say, though, Rahm is still too cheap. But at that same time, because we have such a loaded field, we are getting elite plays at a soft price tag. And so Scottie Scheffler is another one of those elite plays that we're getting at such a soft price tag. He's coming in as the third best pick in the 9-to-5 model. Okay, we can see just tremendous form. He's the defending champ. We have seen him, just really rattle off some great finishes as well. I would say upside not as secure as Rahm, but we're pulling teeth there. It's very tight. But yes, Rory does feel like the top play this week, and that sounds weird to say given the fact that you could argue his recent form is the worst amongst the two, but we can see Genesis Invitational 29th, didn't really have a good weekend. Waste Management Phoenix Open, a tournament in which he said, really wasn't the best fit for him. 32nd, still made the cut, still did fine. Now he's entering this tournament in which he has finished 10th, 13th, 5th, and 6th. In terms of key stats, he ranks out first in 3 out of the 4 that I'm really dialing in on. So, I don't think we can make a wrong decision between those first 3, in all honesty. And at the same time, I think you can go ahead and toss in Max Homa in there, who's just been, I would argue, like the 4th best player in the world right now. Like, I don't think that's like a hot take, really. It'd literally go Rahm, Scottie, Rory, Homa, right? And so we look at Homa's course history: 17th, 10th, 24th. Okay, so the only worry with him would be greens gain, where he doesn't rank out the best in that. Other than that, really just a strong play across the board. The thing with these players, the first 4 players, is Rahm is first in the specialist rating, Scottie 3rd, Rory 2nd, and Homa 5th. They're all the top 4 players in the 9-to-5 player pool, and they're all the top 4 players according to DraftKings as well. So those are going to be the top 4 plays. Pretty straightforward as that. And we are getting such a cheap price tag for Max Homa. Sure, we might worry about the upside with him a little bit, but can we get a top 15 place finish, maybe a top 10 place finish? Heck, can he be in contention to win on Sunday? I think so. And so I feel like almost if you're not paying up for Rahm, a starting point would be Max Homa this week. Then from there, Colin Morikawa is going to be a tough play not to love. Okay. 6th place finish at the Genesis Invitational, miscut at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. He was just, people wanted him to be a better play than he was that week. He was the easy chalk fade that week, and then end up being a solid play the next week. And so we can see, besides that miscut, 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th. I think he's going to make for a great chance to be a good outright bet. He ranks out 8th in the 9-to-5 model this week, and that's most likely just due to the fact that he had that miscut at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Course history-wise, only one starting here in the last 4 years. He had a 9th place finish. So, GPP-wise makes a lot of sense. I guess if you can't afford to pay up for Max Homa in a cash build, I would be fine ending up on Colin Morikawa. And now, to me, it's going to be pretty crazy that we can get Xander Schauffele at this price tag, right? Basically just a certified cut maker. Even in a round in which he did not have his game, a 74 in the second round of the Genesis Invitational, had to chip in for eagle to make the cut. He then was able to manage a 33rd place finish. So very strong, round from, or kind of grinding out type of tournament for him, and he's still able to turn in a 33rd place finish. Now, of course, history-wise, only has one start here, and that was a 24th place finish. But if we look at a guy who's just a cut maker and just, obviously one of the best players in the world, we can get him at 9.2, and that just seems pretty crazy. At the same time, we got Patrick Cantlay down there as well. So I honestly don't mind the idea of starting out with Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele in your builds. That could be a route in which you go, and I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Xander ranks out 11th in the 9-to-5 model, and Patrick Cantlay ranks out 9th. All right, so getting into the mid-tier price point plays, I do like the idea of playing Victor Hovland. We look at his course history, 4 straight made cuts. Now, it was up until last year that he had a really good finish, finishing 2nd. Prior to that, had 4 straight top 40 finishes, so nothing elite there prior to last year. But we can see he's definitely been a cut maker. I do think he's someone that we can depend on to make the cut. And so kind of the theme that we are seeing is that it is going to be extremely easy to find these cut makers, to find a really strong build. Like you could easily do a fair and balanced build and make a very good, safe cash build as well. And so that is where, I kind of get, I guess, why they played price drum around the way they did. But guys, with the last 3 weeks, okay, the biggest issue that I've had, and we have seen it each week, is not doing studs and duds. Okay, I just want to touch on that. Like Eric Cole, Andrew Novak, Kevin Tway, give you guys Dylan Wu. Okay, like Tyler Duncan I mentioned in passing. Like Eric Cole ended up being the top value play. Had I simply just done a studs and duds build, we probably have Eric Cole, we have Shank, we have Shelton. We're just setting ourselves up for more success by doing a studs and duds build. So I don't know. I would say like this week it does seem to be fair and balanced is the way to go, but we are going to get some good values. Now, obviously, I'll touch on the top fair and balanced plays, and I would say Sungjae Im is one of them. Sungjae Im is coming in as a top 10 play in the 9-to-5 model, actually coming in as the 5th best play in the 9-to-5 model. Now, why is that? It's because he's an extremely consistent player, both key stat-wise and kind of just production-wise. He is someone that has played just a lot of tournaments as well, so when we look at his course history, we can see 4 straight made cuts at this tournament. And so really the biggest issue that I have with Sungjae is that his recent weekends have not been that good. Like Genesis Invitational had 2 strong first rounds and then fell off. Okay. And really just 1 bad round occasionally as well. So that's kind of the biggest worry with Sungjae, but he is such a strong, consistent player that I'm kind of willing, especially in more of a cash build, I am willing to maybe just pay up for a little bit of security while we are kind of lacking the upside a little bit. But we, won't be shocking to see him have a top 10 finish at that same time as well. Then I mentioned Matt Fitzpatrick. So the biggest question mark with Matt Fitzpatrick is he healthy, or how healthy enough is he? Okay. I would say that this would be the week in which we could probably play him with the most confidence that we have been able to recently. And so this could all change with any weather report that we get. I want to make that very clear. Okay. If we get a weather report, or not a weather report, an injury report that says Matt Fitzpatrick is struggling with his back, then we worry about him. But he is someone that if he was healthy, I think he would be a 10K play. Maybe not this week. I guess it'd probably be like a 9.4. He'd be probably priced above Willie Z. So we are getting a cheap price discount on him simply because of that injury situation. And so if you look at the course history here, 9th, 10th, 9th, 2nd. I mean, he is just like the ideal type player at a tournament like this. Okay. And so we can see the recent form hasn't been great. That's the issue with him. That's our worry. Okay. It's a neck injury. Sorry, not a back injury. But that's been the biggest issue with Matt Fitzpatrick. So his recent form is in the best place. The 13th best specialist, has the 4th best course history, 30th best staff fit once again because of the injury stuff. But we can see when he's been healthy, it was the 7th. And these 13th place finishes aren't the best. I guess those are at no cut events. This is my long way of saying he's a GPP only play. And then from there, I'm kind of curious as to what Jason Day's ownership will be, because he has kind of been on a low-key tear recently, right? Finishing 9th, 5th, 7th, 18th, 4 straight make cuts in a row, 1 bad round at the RSM Classic, which cost him a made cut. And then prior to that, 16th, 21st, 11th, 8th. So he had been rattling off some great finishes. We look at this tournament, 31st place finish 2 years ago. And then I believe 3 years ago was like the famous, you guys will probably see a picture of it. And let's see if I can actually find it here. Yes, here it is. The famous Jason Day withdrawal with a back injury. Everyone knew he had a back injury, and he played in the tournament and withdrew after round 1 and then went to Disney World. And this is the meme that we'll see a lot this week. And it's funny. I don't think we have to worry about a back injury right now, but it's a funny story. Cheap price tag for a guy that's been playing that well. And it's tough not to like him. Like, he's played well at some tougher scoring tracks as well. So I'm very curious as to what his ownership will be, because I could see it being pretty high. He comes in as the 15th best pick in the 9-to-5 model, a very strong price point play. And so this kind of goes back to how easy it would be to make a fair and balanced build. And then to me, really just a standout play. This is a player that I'm going to end up on probably a lot more than the field. It's going to be Terrell Hatton. Okay, just looking at the course history. The course history is excellent. 2nd, 21st, 1st, 29th. Just really good stuff there from Terrell Hatton. We look at the key stats. He's going to rank out top 12 or better in 3 out of the 4 most key metric or key stats I'm looking at. Recent form could be a little bit better. It's been a little bit hit or miss, I guess. 40th at the Genesis Invitational. Really didn't have anything going. He was able to make the cut. Finished 40th, whatever. Waste Management Phoenix Open. Played a little bit better. 6th place finish. Hero, whatever. I don't really care too much. 38th, had a 7th. And then these 2 starts, no cut events. It's like we can't really put too much into that as well. But if we look at the key metrics, Tyrrell Hatton is the 11th best specialist, 12th best in course history rank, 12th best in recent form rank, and the 6th best stat fit as a whole. We can see like there's nothing too alarming to his game. 9 starts ago is his worst data point that we're going off of. So at this price tag, it's going to be very difficult not to be able to play Tyrrell Hatton. And so this is my worry, is that I'm ending up on a more fair and balanced approach when really the data says and recent production says do a studs and duds build, you idiot. Like, just do it. But it's tough to kind of mentally do that. And the last player in this price point range is going to be Keith Mitchell. It's tough not to like Keith Mitchell as well. And so this is kind of the strong field that we have. We have seen him make 4 really strong starts in a row. And if it weren't for that bad first round at the Sony Open, really just a bunch of great starts in a row. Okay, so Keith Mitchell has been on his game. We have seen that recent upside. And so he is someone that I hope is low owned because we could gain some huge leverage on the field. And I feel like people are going to have a tough time getting to him. Now, if we look at the key stats, guys, he is a top 10 stat fit in the field. Okay, 20th best specialist in the field. 4 straight make cuts of this tournament, finishing 61st, 43rd, 5th, and 6th. So obviously we want those starts from 3 and 4 years ago, but the fact that he was able to make the cut the last 4 years, that is huge. And he's coming in as the 17th best pick in the 9-5 model. Honestly, it wouldn't be shocking to see him be in contention on Sunday. He should be a safe cash play. He should be a good GPP play. This is the theme, is that we can really play 4 players in this price point range and really have a lot of salary left over to really make a strong build. So man, we know not to do studs and duds, but it's kind of coming out that way. And now getting into that low tier price point tier. Corey Connors is probably going to be a decent starting point for a lot of people. Just typically a cut maker. The issue with him is going to be the recent finishes, 61st and 50th. Prior to that had been rattling off some really good starts. I do feel like there's better plays here. We look at his course history though, 11th, 3rd, and then 2 missed cuts in a row. So has made a start here the last 4 years. Pretty good. So Chris Kirk, I don't know what we do with Chris Kirk this week, to be honest with you guys. Tremendous course history. Okay. 5th, 8th, and 15th. For course history. Look at his recent form. 1st, miscut, 3rd, 3rd. Okay. Really hasn't been playing terrible golf as a whole this season. It's what do we do with him? Honestly, it's a question to you guys. I feel like he is one of the players in which coming off of a victory probably won't be as mentally sharp as we would want. Still could be a good play. So from there, I feel like if we are playing Jason Day for that great form recently, I feel like we got to be playing a little bit of Ricky Fowler as well. Ricky currently resides in Florida as well. Okay. Course history wise, not the best, but he's been able to manage 4 straight make cuts of this tournament. 52nd, 72nd, 18th, and 40th. We'll take that. We'll take Ricky Fowler managing a way to make the cut when he was terrible, for the past 3 years, really. And now he's found his swing. And so we can get Ricky at this price tag coming in with a 20th, 10th, and 11th place finish over his past few starts. And if we go back further, we see a 6th and 2nd place finish. Ricky's back. And so sure, compared to the rest of the players in the field, not an elite play, comes in 33rd in the 9-5 model. This is where one of those situations in which, there's a little bit of human element to it. And I would say Ricky is the correct play this week, looking like a stellar play. And I just might end up on Ricky more than the field. The issue that we're going to have in this price point range is that we can find a reason to really play anyone here. You can. Adam Scott, freaking terrible weekend at the Genesis Invitational after a freaking good round 1. That was so annoying, in case you can't tell. But he has made 11 straight cuts in a row. Course history-wise, 26th place finish at this tournament last year and a missed cut, so 1 for 2. Don't love that, but he is someone, typically speaking, you would think would make the cut. And we can get him at 7.6. He has a 77% chance to make the cut. Someone that I really think would be a strong price point play this week. I wouldn't blame anyone for playing Keegan Bradley this week. Sure, he's coming in off of that missed cut last week, or last tournament at the Genesis Invitational. Bad round 1, wasn't able to bounce back in round 2. He does reside in Florida, which is probably why he has great course history here, finishing 11th, 10th, 42nd, and 46th. Really good stuff there from him. And, if we go back further, we see a 2nd, we see a 1st, we see a 5th. He does have some good starts thus far this season. Coming in as a top 20 player in the 9-5 model, definitely a player that you could end up on for sure. And guys, we got Tommy Fleetwood here. Tommy Fleetwood's coming in as a top 15 pick in the 9-5 model, has tremendous course history, 3 top 20 finishes at this tournament and 1 miscut. Okay. The form recently hasn't been elite, I guess. Miscut the Waste Management Phoenix Open. But besides that, pretty good starts, good enough starts, given the tournament, given the setup of this tournament. He's a player I don't mind ending up on. Gary Woodland, I could get talked into a little bit of. Seamus Power really has just some tremendous form. He has one of the best make cut percents in this price point tier. We can see the starts have been pretty phenomenal as well, rattling off a bunch of top 25 or better finishes in all of these cut based events. It's just been so good, especially in 2023. Sure, The one issue that we have with Seamus Power this week is that he missed the cut at this tournament last year. But given this price tag, I like the fact that he does have course experience. Okay, we see that just having course experience is a step above someone not having course experience. So given the great recent form, coming in 7th best in the field. He's the 12th best staff in the field, 20th best specialist in the field. If it wasn't for that course history, he'd be ranking out better than he currently is, which is top 20 in the field. At 7.4, Seamus Power just makes a ton of sense. Okay, so I'll probably be ending up on Seamus Power. And if you think about a player that typically plays well in an event like this, it's Seamus Power. So yeah, he's someone I'll be playing as well. And my goodness, guys, we got 1,200 left over, and I feel pretty good about this build. That is how easy it is to make a good build this week. We could continue on to Mingwu Li. Basically the same play as Seamus Power, just not as good of a specialist. Pretty good stat fit in terms of the data that we have. 3rd best in recent form rank. I mean, he has just been, really playing well, especially when we include the DP Tour starts, which I do include in there. At 7.3, a cheap price tag. Very cheap price tag. Nick Taylor, Tom Hoagie, Aaron Wise, all really good plays as well. Like, you could definitely talk me into that. I'm probably going to go to Adrian here again, though, this week. So he is someone that would fit the bill of someone that typically plays well at this event. He's going to be the 36th best specialist in the field, coming in the 10th best recent form. Once again, that's going to be including the DP Tour starts, but we can see really strong finishes for the most part in the DP Tour. Got a 1st, a 10th, a 4th in there, 14th place finish last week at the Honda Classic, 45th at the Genesis Invitational. So this is one of those situations where when we're looking at DP Tour players, like, I want to see them get acclimated to being overseas here. And so this is going to be his 3rd straight cut in a row. He should be pretty acclimated. Like, he should be good to go. At 7.2, I'm perfectly fine firing him off. I would say if he had course history and we saw him at this tournament, I actually wouldn't mind it for a long shot outright bet. But since we don't, probably not. Going to make for a great GPP play. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I think Christian Bazou now could be a strong bounce back play this week. The course history has been there, 20th, 7th, and 8th. 3 straight make cuts of this tournament with his worst finish being 20th. I mean, that is pretty spectacular. Okay. Specialist-wise, 30th best specialist in the field. Now, stat rank is an elite, 84th in the field, and recent form is kind of poor given the fact that he has missed some cuts, and they were terrible missed cuts. Definitely a GPP only play, definitely like a 5% GPP only play. But he is something that I think we could end up on in a little bit of GPP build. And then from there, I don't get the price tag for Ryan Fox. I know he hasn't been playing like great long-term stuff. Like, his last 3 offenses, though, have been 17th, 11th, and 20th. Okay. This just seems like such a small price tag for Ryan Fox. And like, if we use the DP Tour data, 21st best specialist, 14th best staff fit. Again, he would be a top 20 play in the 9-to-5 model. It just seems like such a cheap price tag. And I know people are very hesitant to roster DP Tour players, so you could probably get away with rostering him as well at a lower ownership. So it could be a good way to gain some leverage on the field. So I'm very curious about ownership this week as well. So now we're going to dip down into that value tier, price point tier. And guys, I am actually curious. Like, there had to be someone that was close or did take down GPP with my advice the last 3 weeks. It's just like almost impossible for it not to have happened. And I know other people are taking advice elsewhere, but I feel like with the top plays and low on plays that like I was able to give out last week and the last few weeks, and really this season, it just seems almost impossible that no one that's been using, so, and I hate saying that. I do. I don't want to pat myself on the back. I'm just like, it is crazy. The season that we have had, both in cash and finding upside plays. And one of those plays was Justin Stott, and I laid it out very well, I thought. Like, if it wasn't for that withdrawal, he'd be someone that we'd be looking at as a really strong play, as someone that'd be higher priced. And I would say that's the exact same situation this week as well. And I would say almost quite clearly, we don't have to worry about the injury situation, the shoulder injury. Okay. So he's been finding ways to make cuts. And yes, this field is definitely not as good as last week, or this field is definitely much better than last week's. Okay. But he's been finding ways to make the cuts. And honestly, if he gets a top 40 finish for me this week as a value tier play, I will take that. Now, Eric Cole, the top value play from last week in the 9-to-5 player pool, player that I gave you guys in this video. I'd be fine going back to the well with him. It's just like, how will he handle, finishing runner up and losing in a playoff? I would say that could hurt him mentally, but who knows? You never know, right? I haven't caught any interviews on him to see where he's at mentally. I feel like that would be a tall tale sign. Maybe we're checking the interviews on Wednesday to see kind of what the message is from Eric Cole. And so I don't know if people will be on Danny Willett, but 3 straight make cuts in a row Also, 3 straight make cuts at this tournament, coming in as the 58th best pick in the 95 mile, which is not elite, but not terrible as well. And then this is another very strange price tag for Robbie Shelton. What is going on here, right? Like, now he doesn't rank out the best in the 95 mile, 51st in the 95 mile, but given the price tag, we would take that. Okay, 21st, 20th, 67th, 6th, miscut, 10th, 52nd, miscut, 23rd, 15th. Like, he has just had some great finishes, and he does have course history. Okay, a miscut and a made cut. Once again, I do like to value the fact that players have a course experience, and so we have that with him. That's a bonus to me. To me, he should be or could be someone that is $1,000 more expensive. Okay, I'd probably say he should be priced by Aaron Wise. Okay, so maybe 7.1. So is he a lock and load to make the cut? Definitely not. But is he someone that we can clearly see should be higher priced? Yes. Okay, he's the 33rd best specialist in the field. Course history-wise, not the best, but 47th best stat fit, 48th in recent form rank. Given the price tag, it is very difficult not to like Robbie Shelton this week. And then for what it's worth, like, Zach Johnson's a decent play. 4 straight make cuts at this tournament, which at 6.5, that is what you'd be hoping for, is a make cut. And honestly, like his best finish is a 32nd place finish. You would be overjoyed for a 32nd place finish, okay? His recent form has been better as well. He has been playing some solid golf thus far this season, especially in 2023. The Sony Open, you know, I was pleasantly surprised that he made the cut. I thought his career was going downhill. No, he's actually been getting better and better each start. And so if that continues this week, this is a very cheap price tag for a guy that has now made 4 straight cuts in a row and 4 straight cuts at this tournament. He does rank out as someone that's going to be right around a made cut, but at 6.5, to get someone that should be right around a made cut, that is an extremely cheap price tag. Like 61st play in the 95 model, we will take that. And then lastly, Adam Schenk, also very cheap. Okay, 42nd, 29th, 4 course history. 5 straight made cuts in a row. Okay, not the best specialist, and I would say that's probably why he would struggle. You know, this is a longer track. I would say that would be the reason why he would miss the cut, but the fact that he's made it 2 straight years, extremely interesting to me. Okay, ranks out as the 68th best pick in the 95 mile. Certainly someone you can play. And then that's probably it. Okay, but we can see there's so many decent plays that we have this week. So now getting into the core plays, I know what you guys are going to say. It's Jon Rahm. He's the highest priced player in the field. Like, that doesn't help me out too much. Guys, this is how you can have success in PGA DFS, is like, just don't get too cute with it. Stick with what works. And Jon Rahm is what works. And you can easily fit him into a build. I already pointed out there's Robbie Shelton, a good play. Zach Johnson, that's a good play. There's a bunch of decent value out there that can make the cut. And thus, if Jon Rahm returns a top 5 finish again, you're going to be rewarded for that. Okay, the only issue I have, I guess, would be one start here in the last 4 years, which was a 17th place finish. But we can see, look at this. I mean, this is insane. His worst data point that we have is literally 17th place finish last year. And then from there, it's a 7th place finish. Okay, just insanely good stuff there from Jon Rahm. I see no reason at 11.5 not to treat him as someone we should be really going out of our way to play. And from there, guys, this field is loaded. You could make an argument for all of these plays. To me, I see Tyrrell Hatton at his price tag, and I just want to load up on Tyrrell Hatton, okay? He is someone that should be in for a made cut. Like, he typically is a grinder. He typically finds ways to make the cut, and we can see course history has been elite. 2nd, 21st, 1st, 29th. And honestly, I feel like if he wasn't a DP World Tour player for like half of his starts, he would be higher priced. This is a tournament that he loves, and I think we're getting like a DP Tour discount. Is the best way to describe it. So I'm going to be loading up on Tyrrell Hatton at 8.3. That's just such a cheap price tag and a play that I just want to go on my way to play. And then for me, I do think 9.7 is just such a solid price tag for Max Homa. It's tough not to love him. Coming in, you know, it is quite clearly Rory or Rahm, and then it's Scotty, and then it's Homa. Like, those are quite clearly the top 4 plays. There's a decent gap between Scotty and Rory or Rahm. And there's a decent gap between Homa and Scotty. But Homa is cheap. 9.7 is such a cheap price tag for him. And honestly, outright wise, I don't mind. He is going to be really mentally ready to go, it seems like. He is mad that he let that W go away, especially after having the lead in his last start. But we can see last few starts, 2nd, 39th, 1st, 3rd. Great course history here as well. 17th, 10th, 24th. If you think about a tournament that Max Homa would play well at, it is this tournament. So we can get Max Homa at 9.7. That's an extremely cheap price tag. We are getting soft pricing. And so I think we should take advantage of that. And then for my last core play, let's just see which players are coming in as core plays on the 9-5 data tag. We got a ton. Okay, so that is my long way of saying we can't really narrow it down that much. This is the data tag. This is pretty much a thing that I use to tell us which players are the core plays given the metrics. Okay, so we can see Xander, Hovland, Cameron Young, and I would say it feels dirty, and I probably don't want to do this, but Keith Mitchell, I could see kind of rostering more, kind of going out of my way more than the rest of the field, just given this price tag. You can see 4 straight make cuts at this tournament. Just a pretty strong play across the board. 10th best stat rank play in the field. We can see 2 top 5 finishes over his last 3 starts, 3 top 10 finishes over his last 7 starts. Top 20 specialists in the field, it's pretty easy to like him. And so if we get into a first look build here for you guys, I already showed you guys this one as I was going through it. Like, you could easily just upgrade from Sungjae Im to Max Homa if you wanted to. You could easily do that. Seamus Power is another player I didn't even mention as a core player. Like, he's such a strong play. I think he's going to be a great play. And once again, like I kind of mentioned, I need to stop being stupid and not doing studs and duds. So let's try to do a studs and duds one as well. So if we were to do a build like this, guys, we can fit pretty easily and pretty strongly almost 4 9K price point plays and feel pretty good about it, given the soft pricing with some values that we have. Maybe we go Sungjae Im here, who ranked out really well. So that is how good it is and easy it is to make a strong build. Now with that, I typically show you guys kind of the lineup tool here and show you guys how that lineup would look. I feel like it's too wide open right now to kind of give that out to you guys. I just feel like it wouldn't be as beneficial as it typically would be. So, take that for what it's worth. Maybe on Wednesday's video, I'll come out with that for you. But that's all for this video. It was a fun video. Lots of great plays, lots of great lineups you can make, lots of strong price point plays as well. Personally, this is one that should be a little bit easier. I mean, with these elevated events, it is easier to make some good builds. And so just don't be dumb. Don't get too cute. And let's have a good week. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, let's keep cashing.